So, how do leaders make winning decisions? Does it in fact relate to the left brain and the right stuff? Hi, I'm Chris, I'm a doctor. Let me summarize this book for you. The key learning is really that to combine two different types of thinking, you can get the optimum decision. The left brain is really shorthand for this deliberate, analytical approach to problem solving, whereas the right stuff is about actually the intelligent management of risk. And these may at times seem like they're opposites, but if you can use them together in a complementary process, it can really assist your decision making. And it's actually essential in many decisions to use that left brain logic with other things because on its own the logic isn't enough. And the right stuff refers to the right level of confidence, even levels that objectively you may think are excessive. And this is because with great confidence you can potentially achieve great performance. And that's what we all want after all. And it's important to engage the right stuff when you have control or any potential control over the outcome. Examples are made such as for people being overconfident. I could ask you, how long's the Nile? I'd say, I don't know. Other people would look on a smartphone. But if you were to take a guess, you'd likely give it between a specific range that may be far too short or far too long. And then people may say, well, that's a reason you're on overconfident. Therefore, in business, in life, you need to be aware of this and not be overconfident. However, this is absolutely incorrect. And the example there, if you're making a guess that's completely wrong, it's actually that you're applying more too much precision rather than too much confidence. And when it comes to management, perhaps at one point, the amount of decisive action that is taken may appear too much, but it actually may be necessary. So, overconfidence is often mistaken in a similar way by three different things. I've mentioned over precision, overestimation, and overplacement. Overestimation is thinking that your impact of you has a huge impact on the project. Overplacement is referring to comparing your abilities with those of others and thinking that you're better than them. And people will often blame overconfidence when things don't work out, but that's not really that true because often something has not worked out and that's actually out with the control of that person. And when they were undertaking the task, they were perhaps appropriately confident. And if it succeeded, you'd say, oh, yeah, that was good, they were confident. Let's talk slightly about sport. So, something like that, you've got an element of control. So, if you're going to hit a golf ball in, then if you believe that you can do it and have that positive mindset, it can actually improve your ability. There's this illusion of control, and I've alluded to that earlier, and this is usually that you have more control over a situation than you actually do. And people talk about that and say, oh, don't fall for the illusion of control. But you have to also bear in mind that if you truly have no control, fine, use the illusion of control. But for many activities, we actually do have some control, and we shouldn't underestimate our level of control due to that. You'll have heard, if you're into statistics, about two types of error: type 1, or a false positive, and type 2, or a false negative. And it's important to think about the base rate, of course, when you're thinking about a true positive. You'll have heard a lot about this in the media regarding COVID tests, for example. But when you're taking a decision, often there is a real kind of push to avoid a false positive, doing something where you shouldn't have done. Whereas in fact, the most serious mistake may be a false negative, and that's when we actually don't take action, when we potentially could take action and have an impact. If you're going into a competition, take a moment to think about who wins and what they win. So if it is a highly skewed thing, i.e., winner takes £1 million, runner-up takes maybe £500,000, and after that, if you kind of come in 10th, you maybe get a badge and a balloon. That would be a highly skewed prize. And to try and win, therefore, it's most important to outperform others, and that actually may be taking some extreme risks there. Whereas if it's something where there's, say, 4,000 of these things going, and it may just be that you can play it a bit safer and you don't have to take as many risks to outperform others. Bias to action is often a problem, so particularly if you get, say, new management who may come in and show they need to do something. But perhaps the greater sin is not just the bias to action, because that actually means you've tried and there's a potential that you could do something. In fact, the greater sin is not taking action due to the risk of failure. So what you may want to do is learn a type of optimism that the psychologist Martin Seligman refers to. And this is to replace a static view in which we hold a single mindset and actually have a rather dynamic view, and we can shift between mindsets as needed. So before an activity, you may have an objective to do a particular task. At that point, you may want to have the left brain engaged, in which you're thinking, how do I do this? When it comes to actually the activity itself and just before, that's when you need to conjure up the right stuff, that confidence in your ability, so that then you can perform it as well as you can at that time. Afterwards, the ideal use would then be reflecting, perhaps using the left brain to analytically think, what went well, what didn't go so well, and how can I improve this next time? So you want to aim from left-sided deliberate thinking into actually taking action and making the best use of that time with the, at times, false confidence to give you the best chance of success. Authenticity is often mentioned regarding leaders. It's actually not that good a measure, because if somebody succeeds, people say, yeah, they were authentic, he or she, they were really authentic. But there's loads of people who didn't succeed who were equally authentic. So really what you want to do is not just follow lessons blindly without understanding how decisions potentially differ. If you want to know more about decision frameworks, feel free to check out this book that I've previously summarized. And when you want to outperform rivals, really you'll often have these vital strategic considerations. But it may be that actually if you think too much, you delay action, and you need to just use the right stuff to take action and take that decisive, bold move. If you think about acquisitions of businesses, these are full of uncertainty and the risks are often very considerable, and there's no real formula to avoid a chance of loss. And you may think, well, there's predictive models, Chris, what about those? Predictive models, I think, are good, but if you can influence the outcome, then really you shouldn't think too much about the predictive model, because you should get on with influencing the outcome to occur as you would like it to. So often this combination of wisdom, clear detached thinking, the properties of the left brain, and this willingness to take bold action is really the hallmark of the right stuff and your best chance of success. I hope that you found that helpful. Feel free to comment below, like, subscribe, and I shall see you next time.